Alright, behind me is a flat earth map of the spherical earth, and we're going to go into the history of the Christian side of the flat earth. Now, I've watched a few videos already about some gatherings of the flat earthers, and it's just really becoming more and more like a drug infested pagan parade, which I've warned them already that, in a lot of these occult books they talk about the earth plane and all that stuff, but they ain't listening to me. So let's look at more the what they call themselves, the Bible believers, the flat earthers, that you can't really be a Bible believer unless you're a flat earther. So let's look at it from their point of view. So as you see behind me, I'm just going through a few of the countries. Just managed to get the little Scotty dog in there. Australia. Now if I turn the camera around, what does that look like? Scary, isn't it? Africa actually looks like a dragon. He's got the horn at the top and the eye in the middle, which is like Lake Victoria. There it is. Africa's a dragon. And then up there, Central America, that's the serpent. So the first part of the history of the flat earth was that in the garden, the serpent came in, the dragon transformed into a serpent, or it was just one of these like dragon serpenty things, and it came into the chat with Eve, and they fell from grace and all of that, and sin entered into the human race. But of course the most important thing that they forgot was the shape of the earth, and so God had to cast them out of their flat earth Eden, and they just basically forgot what the shape of the earth was, and they toiled the ground, and whatever curse that Adam got, eat the bread by the sweat of his labours. And just going to have a cup of tea. So God was really obviously concerned about the fact that, his chief part of creation didn't even know what shape the earth was. So what he did, he formed a nation called Israel. He tried to educate them, he sent them prophets, but still they couldn't just see that it was a flat earth. The Jews, Israel, they never came to the conclusion that the earth was flat. The Egyptians were trying to tell them it was flat all along. The Egyptians believed there was a flat earth, but the Hebrews are like, no, we don't believe you're rubbish. And so God was, of course, angry with this, and so he cast Israel into the nations again, and they wandered the earth like vagabonds for thousands of years until today. And what happened? The Second World War. Now, Hitler really got to grips, with these wicked Jews, because they wouldn't bend the knee to the flat earth altar. So what happened was that Hitler gassed these wicked Jews that were mostly spherical earthers. Some of them didn't really care what shape the earth was, but the fact is, Hitler was really on to something, that, the earth was maybe a different shape, and these Jews were, conspiring to take over the world and pretend that it's a different shape. And so in seeing that, the Jews weren't successful, what happens? The flat earth Muslims see their chance, and so they flood from all around this Middle East area into Europe, right here, into this area. And, they start, speaking about the flat earth. Now, during this point, the angel Gabriel, of course, it was the real angel Gabriel, not a demon, came down and gave the revelation to Muhammad in a cave which was known for sorcery and known for pagan worship. But, the angel Gabriel just happened to go there and speak to Moses. Muhammad, right? As far as I know, Moses wasn't a flat earther, was he? Anyway, Muhammad was. And, he wrote the Quran. And so, that was the breakthrough for the flat earthers. This really meant that God had at last spoken, something very, very clear. Even though all the other prophets before him, including Jesus Christ, didn't really care about the shape of the earth, Muhammad was onto something. This was God's master plan, to save his creation and to re-establish his creation the way it was before Eden, on the flat earth Eden, of course. And so what I see the flat earthers doing now is that through all the chaos and the wars, the race wars, Third World War, the nations rise against nations, Jesus says, that in the end the meek shall inherit the earth. And these flat earthers are just waiting, for everyone just to destroy each other so they can figuratively walk off that Ark of Noah, walk casually down that plank, breathing in the fresh air, and just inherit the earth, as Jesus says. The only problem with that is, of course, Jesus never taught that it was a flat earth. But that's the history of the flat earth. I really hope you've enjoyed it for the Christian flat earthers. See you later.